Okay, so we're back. I wanted to just pick up approximately from where we were last time. What I wanted to show you was how we can make Visual Studio Code even more powerful than it was in the last video by installing some extensions and doing some extra work from inside the editor interface. Okay, so here we are in a situation where I have saved, staged, and committed a couple of small changes to my repository, and then pushed those changes to the cloud. That's fantastic. I'm not done yet because I haven't done all my changes, but I've come pretty close. Now let's install some extensions and start doing a couple of other things. So we'll go here to click on the extensions button, and that will switch the sidebar view from the source control view where we were before to the extensions. And now let's search for the one where we want to install, which is called the History Hack Pack. Here we are. This is the one we want. Let's install it. And now we have to reload in order to activate the extension. And what that extension actually does really is install a bunch of other stuff. You can see a whole bunch of them listed here. That's great. We're not going to talk about everything today. We'll talk about one or two. In particular, we're going to talk about NPM and the Mocha sidebar. So let's start with the Mocha sidebar. You can, if we look in this activity bar, we'll see there's a new icon here, this like beaker or flask. That's the test sidebar. That is where we can manage tests associated with a given repository. In our case, we use Mocha. When you bring it up, what you should find is that the test won't run. Yeah, the tests are messed up. Something's not working. It's because I have not yet run npm install, which will set the repository up for the test to be able to work. Now I can do that right here from the terminal, or we can do something a little bit kind of more clever by opening up the command palette with Control-Shift-P, or we can also do that with just the F1 key. And if we type in npm, we'll see a whole bunch of possibilities, and one of the first of them is install dependencies. So let's do that now. Watch what happens. Notice that a new terminal window has been created here, so we're no longer in the original one, but in this second one, this npm one. And there's a whole bunch of action happening here as the dependencies are installed. Okay, now that the dependencies are installed, let's run all our tests here for Mocha. And we can see the tests go from blue, which means status unknown, to red or green. The green tests pass, but the red tests have not passed. So I've not made enough git commits yet. That should pass. That's a little weird. Anyway, let's see, some of them pass and some of them don't. This is pretty nice interface, but it's maybe not as beautiful as it might be. If we switch from the Flask to the File Explorer, we will see this directory test results, which won't have been there before. And we can click on testresults.html. Let's hide the Explorer bar for a moment. And bringing up the command palette again, we can show a live preview of what that file looks like, and we can see there's a very helpful interface to the test results here. And let's see. Oops, it looks like I've have not made enough Git commits. Fortunately, my Git username has been set, so that's fine. Maybe there's some problems with the checked in files. These look just fine. They're passing as I thought they would. But I have not written the reflection file, and therefore these are going to fail. You only have to write the reflection file if you want an A, but that's not so important right now. So here we're learning two things. First, that when the tests run, they create an HTML file that contains the relevant information. And second, we're learning that one of the extensions we've installed, the live server, allows us to look at rendered HTML in Visual Studio Code without having to switch contexts and go to our browser or whatever. So that's really convenient. So let's get rid of this. In fact, now that we've installed these things, we can do a couple more little tricks. Let's bring the command palette up again, and we can run one of the npm scripts, and let's see, there's this collect JSON one. Let's just try and run that. Ooh, looks just fine. Now, when we go to index.html, we can do a live preview, and we'll see, you'll be able to check here whether your card has been generated in the way that you would want it to be generated. And we can also like move this around and see how the layout changes as the screen gets smaller and bigger. Okay, that's about all I wanted to show you. There's a whole bunch more to learn, but this should help you get through the next part of your assignment.